I am. All right, back to another video. Um, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be like, cause I don't know if there's like two main ideas. I don't know if I'm gonna put them all in one video, maybe make two videos. But as always, I guess we'll see what happens. Suppose the main idea of this is to um, provide some insight on governing self, how to govern yourself. Because in the world, it seems like, a lot of people may have issues with how things are governed. They may not agree with the decisions or the direction that the ones who presume themselves in power have decided. So it may seem to some that the logical thing to do is to go out there and voice all your concerns and, you know, try to try to persuade them to govern you better. But I mean, when you really think about it, that's just really backwards. Everything, you know, as they say, starts from within. So that's what this video is really more about, is uh, providing a little bit of foundation on what that means and some practical techniques maybe on how exactly to go about that. Okay, so governing yourself starts by knowing who you are. Okay, so, and it may be a stretch for some, but I've spoken in my other videos about how there's no separation really, that everything exists within, if you want to put it this way, within this same bubble called the Earth, which exists in this same bubble or the same system called the galaxy, which exists within the same bubble or system called the universe, which exists, presumably in something else, but, because, you know, you may not be able to see or contemplate what exists beyond that. Maybe you assume there's nothing, or maybe you assume you're insignificant or whatever. And that's only because you've completely lost your focus. You've lost your concentration. You've just allowed yourself to just dissipate. So, how, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more of like a feminine way of going about things, just kind of passive and just kind of, you know. But I was speaking to somebody on the phone the other day, and I was talking about how um, it's a double-edged sword. You need something, and I always go all over the place. You need something, um, like some kind of container for the energy or the soul, in a sense, because you need to be able to stabilize the energy. You need to be able to build up some type of pressure so energy can circulate, right? But, if there's too much pressure, it can cause problems. If there's not enough pressure, it can cause problems. So, and you see that even with like your blood pressure and all like that. So, um, if, okay, how to put this? We'll identify two polarities, right? The first one being focus and concentration, and the other one being non-focus, non-concentration, right? Or not even that, because that would be like maybe in the center. On the other side would be um, anti-focus or anti-concentration, right? So in the world, you see that there's a lot of things that um, correspond to distraction. Just literally everything, it seems, is trying to vie for your attention, whether it be, you know, mostly the TV, obviously, all the different shows and the movies and the politics and all the problems that the media tries to force on everyone and be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and it's all the while it's inciting you to um, lose your focus of on yourself and to get you to focus on something else, because when you focus on something else, you actually become that. You actually funnel your energy, you actually create a connection, as in, or you allow that thing to connect to you, and then it can sit there and like pump energy out of you, just like they build these pumps and pump oil out of the earth. Oil being like kind of like you could say like the blood of the earth in a way, like it's pulling the energy out of the earth, and that's what that's what they do to people. It's like, because okay, so so you see, like, it's like there's so many different ways. It's like maybe, like I said, maybe I should at some point try to get a little more structure in these videos and maybe actually have like some bullet points so I can actually try to stay on some type of track so it's not just all over the place. But I guess I haven't done that yet. You see like these pictures of these diagrams, and you see like you have the spine, right? And that's like what people refer to as like the ladder, or like the ladder of lights, or the ladder to heaven, or even like the bridge, like the rainbow bridge. It's something that takes you from one frequency to another. And if you look at, because the human body is the map of the cosmos, is the map of the universe. So you do have like an underworld, and you do have like what you can consider to be like a heaven, right? And there's a reason why there's a reason why you talk to yourself, or there's a reason why you hear suggestions. It's like if they could control everything, or get you to do certain things without your consent or your permission, they wouldn't need a TV. They wouldn't need you know all these different frequency generators that attempt to disrupt your harmonics. So you see these two, hopefully this is making sense. I mean, you see these two, like, okay, so you see this picture of the spine, which is like the balance, which is like you, and then you see these two serpents, and they go up, and it's like, so this is like, okay, just like your body is like, you could say it's almost like a tree, right? So like your spine is like the trunk, that's where everything is, right? So everything that goes into the branches started in the trunk, so which is started from the seed and all like this, and that's you. So there's things that go in the roots into like the underworld. You need to like have strong roots in the foundation in the underworld, and then you can actually, and then that gives you the grounding necessary to propel yourself up into heaven. So you need both of those pieces. But if they can somehow disconnect you, right? If they can somehow disconnect you, like, it's like you hear things like, this is another concept that maybe it's just not even worth really getting into, but it's like I saw this video of this guy, like, where how do you explain it? It's like, basically, like, they with some type of practical illusion, they put like a hand right here to like basically make your hand believe that this was your hand, and then hit it with a hammer, but it was like a prosthetic hand. But since your mind couldn't really necessarily perceive the difference, when the hammer went down on the prosthetic hand, your brain actually interpreted it as pain. So it's because everything doesn't exist just in the physical. So it's like the same thing. If they chop off the tree in the physical, that doesn't necessarily, and all the roots are still there, it's like, that doesn't necessarily mean that the tree doesn't exist anymore. It's like, but if the tree wasn't tuned with its more etheric self, then if something comes and chops its physical correspondent away, it may think that it died. It's the same thing with the human. Like, they think maybe that if somehow your physical vessel was, chopped, like somehow you die. But and that's only if you believe that. So if they can keep you, so here's the ground, here's the roots underground, and then here's the trunk, and then like this. So if they can kind of keep like right, so where the sun is, like you see like the pyramid with all seeing eye, I don't know, like get into all this kind of stuff, but they're basically saying like stay under the sun, basically. So like basically stay under where the light comes from. So don't actually go up into the light and become the light. Don't do that. We'll say we're God. We'll say we're the light, and then we'll actually, we'll be like your parents essentially. Like, but maybe they're more like the parent who, like maybe like some type of foster parent who, just wants to gather a bunch of children so they can get more checks from the government. Like they can get more checks from the universe. Like, look at all these souls we got. We need more energy to take care of them. Like something like that, So so the goal then becomes to connect back to yourself. So kind of like transcend all those ideas and actually come into your own light. So, yeah, totally. I think going off where I was going to go in this video, but, yeah, but you need both. So, yeah. So these serpents will go up, and then you see them like they kind of like it's like they see like they'll be like in both ears. So like you got like the angel on one shoulder. I said this in another video. You got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and they're each suggesting things to the king or the queen or basically the supreme, right? Which is your soul, which exists right here in your crown, which is the seat of your soul. They're like your advisors, right? But if the king or the queen is, let's say, weak or asleep or, under the influence of some, we'll just say under the influence of something, these advisors or these beings who are supposed to really be serving, the creation, they may take it upon themselves to try to, overthrow and be like, oh, well, since they're not whatever, then we'll just kind of stick. So it's like, I don't want to say it's like your birthright in a sense, but it is also too. Like, this is your body. Like, if it's like it was entrusted to you. So if you aren't utilizing it because it is a grand being with limitless potential, if you're not utilizing its capabilities because you're too focused, all you care about is American Idol and football and going out to the club every weekend, that's all you care about. Okay, but you're not actually doing anything. You're actually producing nothing. So you could say maybe there's like a clause in the the universal contracts or universal laws that says if a being isn't utilizing its creative potential to a certain level, then we can consider it to be like like able to be hosted, we'll say, right? So it's like if there's a ship and it's just, and the universe just created this ship and the ship is just floating in the sea, and then but the captain is just like, all the captain cares about is just sitting all the captain cares about is just sitting in like in under the ship and just getting blackout drunk every night. And the ship is just floating around and it's doing nothing. It's like it. I don't want to. It's like I'm completely saying nothing I thought I was gonna say, but it's like and these are all just metaphors, obviously, but it's like a being maybe will go to like the the Galactic Council and be like, well, hey, there's this ship over here and the captain's really doing nothing with it, so maybe we can utilize this ship for something for our purposes. Well, okay, well, it's the same thing that happens here. Like, it's like if you take a car to a mechanic shop and they tell you, okay, it's gonna cost $1,300 to fix it or $2,000 to fix it, and you're like, okay, and then you leave it there past a certain time, they can actually send a request into the governing body to actually repossess that vehicle because you're no longer using it and it's actually on their property. So that's essentially, what can happen if you aren't utilizing your vehicle, if you aren't, maintaining it properly. Something else may gain rights over your vehicle, basically. So you need to learn how to properly maintain your vessel. You need to learn how to properly govern yourself, because if you do that, you won't even have business with those type of beings. It's like, it's just they. It's like, it's you. It's like you're. It's like you won't. It's like you won't connect. They won't phase with you. It's like it's like two magnets. They just don't go together. It's like you'll just be walking, and it's like all those particles are just kind of like. It's like you walk and it's like splitting the Red Sea. You walk and it's like, whoo, it's not the same. So, yeah. So, but that's not to say that these advisors or these lower beings or whatever you want to call them don't have a purpose. They definitely do. They are like children. Like, okay, so for example, you're sitting on the couch and you're doing what you're doing, and let's say, you're trying to lose weight, right? So you told yourself, okay, no more snacking, we'll say, right? And you're sitting on the couch, you just had breakfast a couple hours ago, and lunch isn't for another hour and a half. And you're like, well, man, I really want to go and I really want to eat this snack, right? But you just told yourself 2 days ago that you were going on a diet and that you're not doing that anymore. That's the decree that you actually made within your own consciousness when you realized that you have extra weight that you need to lose, right? So you told yourself, okay, I'm gonna lose this weight. Cool, that's what's up. But then 2 days later, you're sitting on the couch and you got these beings suggesting to you, because in a sense, like, these beings are the ones who not caused you because you allowed them to exist, but they caused you or suggested to you for you to get fat in the first place, because it's like the I'm like saying, like, it's like the weaker you are, the stronger they are, we'll say, but it's polar. You're supposed to bring in the balance. You don't want them to be weak necessarily, but you don't want them to, you don't want you to be weak. If you're both strong, that's what's optimal, when both aspects of yourself are both strong. So it's like a child. Like, it's like when you get to a certain level, you should treat your physical existence as your child, right? So the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, all over the place again, the Holy Trinity is the Mother, the Father, and the child, right? So this, in a certain metaphor, you could just say it's your left side of the left side of your consciousness, the right side of your consciousness, your dualistic self comes together to create, and what you create is your child. So when the masculine and the feminine came together, these two poles, the light and the dark, came together and created the human. That's you. So that's actually your creation. Your body is your creation, and you're living through your creation. But your creation, it's dealing with so many frequencies and spectrums, and it's constantly trying to set everything in balance. So it's like it would be real easy to be like, I'm gonna stop eating. Well, fuck it, if I don't need to get fat, so I'm just gonna stop eating. But that's not always practical, just to be like, you're gonna stop eating because you might starve to death. It's like you got to set it in balance. You don't eat too little, don't eat too much. You see what I'm saying? You have to actually learn the proper weights and measures of what to do. But you're going to have beings, just like you have liberals and conservatives, you're always going to have a group of beings that are always like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then you got always this being that I want this, I want this, and they might not want the same thing. And if you show more favoritism to this one, they'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you kind of stop feeding this one will get smaller. But then this one takes over this one, and now this one runs the whole world. But you need both to actually be able to do something. So you have to be up here and set all of this into balance. And the only way you can do that is by governing yourself. So establishing your will and having an unbreakable will. So when you should develop the capability that, even if you need to start small with just very minor things, when you say you're going to do something, do it like your life depends on it. Like, because in a sense it does. Like, it's like you get so conditioned and just dull. Your senses are so dull because you're just doing the same thing every day. You don't think, it's like it's like you be like, oh man, I'm getting fat, I need to get on a diet. You be like, okay, I'm gonna get on a diet. You have a New Year's resolution, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. 3 days into that shit, you're back eating Twinkies again. So it's because you have no will, so you can't actually do anything. And the will is will. It's like that's what actually moves you, your will. Like it's like the process of propulsion or the process of movement in the universe, or even the process of Kundalini itself, is to contract and then expand. It's like the same thing as like it's like a jellyfish. Like it goes, or like even like a caterpillar. It pulls itself up and then pulls itself up and pulls itself up and pulls itself up. So you need tension, and then you need to release the tension. It's the same thing with the muscle. Like you tense up your muscle and then you release your muscle, and you tense up your muscle and you release your muscle, right? So when you tense up your muscle, it can be uncomfortable, but then when you release it, now you're stronger. So your frequency just went up. So it's the same thing with everything. It's not just the physical correspondent. You got to look at the mental and the spiritual correspondent of what these things are. You need to actually become the architect of your own life. So you maybe start with something like, okay, I'm going to do 50 push-ups and I'm going to do 50 push-ups, right? So no matter what happens that day, you'll do 50 push-ups. And then you have to see. The reason why you got all the police and the enforcers and all these different, because you're not actually enforcing your own will even in your own life. It's not to go enforce the will on somebody else. You're not actually enforcing your own will on yourself. If everybody was governing themselves, there would be no government. You see what I'm saying? I'm not. It's like I'm just saying that it wouldn't be necessary, right? It's like if everybody knew how to live in harmony with their environment, nobody would need somebody else making decisions for them, because they can make their own decisions. That's the part about growing up and being, having knowledge of self, right? So, yeah, that's what it is. And this is another thing that I kind of wanted to, I don't know if this is how it's going to come out, but you'll see like, okay, so they talk about, okay, there's this idea known as epigenetics, right? And basically the fact is, I'll just say that the fact is that your genetics aren't something so much as your program as they are the tendency for you to do something. So if let's say your parents had the tendency to overeat constantly and indulge in all these, it's like the same thing as like if your mother or your father was an alcoholic, you may be more predisposed to be an alcoholic because that's a tendency. But that doesn't mean that you will be an alcoholic. That means because you can reprogram yourself. It's like how the universe works. This is sort of like a key, really, is like on an algorithm. It attempts to predict what you're going to do, right? So that's a double-edged sword. It'll predict what you're going to do. So it will, it takes some of the effort out of you having to completely focus and actively create each moment. But on the other hand, it'll actually create the moment for you in a sense. And then if you don't take the reins, it's almost like you're just following the leader. But what you're doing is you're following the past. You see, so you have to reprogram your own algorithm. So what you need to do is, what you need to do, what you don't need to do, blah, blah, blah. Right? So I'm not telling you what you need to do. Do whatever you want to do. But begin to architect your own life. That's like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, create a plan and then enforce your will. Don't create such a plan as it's like you know yourself better than anybody. So do something that you can succeed at. And it's the same thing as like, if you can do something for an hour, then you can do it for 5 hours. And if you can do it for 5 hours, you can do it for a day. And if you can do it for a day, you can do it for a week. If you can do it for a week, you can do it for a month. If you can do it for a month, you can do it for 3 months. If you can do it for 3 months, you can do it for a year. If you can do it for a year, you can do it forever. So it's just by taking those steps. And then it's like it's exponential. So you're like, dunk, 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 dunk. So, and that's kind of what will happen. But if you never actually take the whole thing is designed to get you to never actually take any steps. That's really what it is. Just kind of think about it. Oh, I really need to quit smoking. Oh, I really need to stop eating all this. Or, oh, I really need to do this. Or, oh, I need to start exercising. Or, oh, I need to do the blah, blah, blah. But never actually doing it. Or if you do attempt to do it, something else comes and convinces you not to. There's a suggestion that comes like, no, don't do that. But this is all about reclaiming your own. It's like there's certain words I don't want to use, so I just won't. But it's just reclaiming back your own self, we'll say, like you see those pictures of the Buddha or whatever, and then you got like all these serpents that are around. It's like, it's because he's mastered them, right? Like these chakras or these organs in your body, they all have needs and they all have a purpose and they all have something to offer. But if any of them receive too much or too little, it throws everything out of whack. So it's the same thing in the world. Like you may have a certain continent that's receiving more of the resources than another continent, right? Or you may even have one continent go over and take the resources from another continent. And so it throws the whole thing out of balance. It's the same thing inside your body. It's like if you are constantly only giving a fuck about your brain, like, oh, this nicotine, or oh, this alcohol, or oh, this sugar snacks, or whatever it is, the rest of your body is going to suffer. You're actually taking away the minerals and taking away, the opportunity for those beings, because they are alive. Your organs are alive. They do have their own individual consciousness, just as each individual blood cell has its own consciousness, just how each individual atom has its own consciousness. And you have billions upon billions of those inside your own body, because you yourself are the cosmos. You are a baby cosmos. Like you are a baby universe. You are a seed of the universe. Everything is growing from you. It's like it's a universe inside of a universe inside of a universe. I mean, look, it's the same thing that's happening. It's like you're a being inside of a being inside of a being inside of a being. It's like you may not be able to think you can go past the universe, even though there's theories about multiple universes, whatever. But it's like you can't deny that you are a being that exists inside of a being called the earth. And it's like, I don't even want to, go into the whole thing, whether the earth is a being or not. It is. It's like, how could you say it's not? Like, it's alive. Obviously, everything on it's alive. It must be alive. But that's irrelevant. So you're a being inside of a being, and that being, the earth, is inside of another being, right? And that's inside of another being, inside of another being. And this goes on in a quantum field for indefinitely. And that's what this is really all about, is connecting the beginning with the end. But you can't do that without your will, because there's always something that's going to be attracted to the past, and there's always going to be something that's attracted to your perceived future, right? And most of the things that you do, okay, we won't even go into that. I'm only like 30 minutes into this video. And so back what was I saying about the algorithm, right? The algorithm attempts to predict what you're going to do. So these are your 10, it's over time. So like it's beyond an individual lifetime. So when you get up and you go look at yourself in the mirror, what you're seeing is a manifestation of the algorithm, what you expect to see. That's not, you could totally reprogram your entire field to look completely different if you had the will. Because how to explain this? It's like, the will isn't so much to prove to others as it is to prove to yourself. Because it's like, if your will was so unshakable and so unmovable that you yourself knew that if you set your mind to it, it would, no question, it would get done, you would find yourself on a frequency in which you wouldn't have to go necessarily through all of, I don't want to say you wouldn't have to go through, it's like you would still have to go through the labor, but it's like, or you have to go through the work or still do your due diligence, but you'd be operating at such a high frequency that it would happen so quickly, because you wouldn't have these pitfalls of like, oh, maybe it's not good. Because once you know that, once you know it, the other half of it is to do it. So most people don't know it. So doing it is, what, do it? Well, I gotta go and, American Idol's on tonight or whatever the fuck. Like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm trying to think how long I want to make this video. I don't want to keep it under 30 minutes, but basically what I'm saying is that if you develop your will, your focus, you can transcend time. You can transcend division. You can transcend all of this because you exist beyond this. It's like can nobody come and be like, well, if you don't do this, I'll kill you, or oh, if you don't do this, I'll whatever you. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll just be like, it's like your will. It's like as soon as it's like what causes you to fear something is you don't know it. But it's like if your will, if you know your will, if you know, it doesn't matter what happens. I know this is what I'll do. It's like it's done. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's done. it's like the same thing. It's like if you believe something that somebody tells you, like it's like if you're a kid and your mom tells you I will be home at 6:00 and I'm bringing home pizza. As far as you're concerned, she's already home with pizza. You're just sitting over there waiting, anticipating. You have no concept that your mom might not be home when she says she's going to be home with pizza, especially if every time she says it, she's always been there because that's her will. She just decreed her will, and that's what. So you're not actually sitting there like, oh, I wonder if she's going to be home. I wonder if this and all like this, and all your energy is just going, I wonder. No. It's like you can be focused now. It's like you can completely focus on something else now. It's like okay. So this is I'm hungry. Okay, my mom's bringing me home food. Okay, that's what's up. So now instead of sitting there worrying about you're hungry, you can focus on something else now and know that that will come to pass. It's the same thing in your entire consciousness. If you say I'm gonna do it, you can just. It's almost like you have to enforce your own will within your own consciousness. That's really what this is. That's what it. I mean, I can sit there and keep going around it, but that's really the point. You have to enforce your will in your own consciousness. You'll always experience these suggestions that come from the lower world, and they try to whisper to you. They try to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do or whatever. But these are advisors, right? And you have to train them. You have to, show them what kind of being you are, in a sense. And if the whole time you've been showing them that you're this being who for the life of you cannot, there's people who can't stop smoking and the doctor tells them they're about to die and they just can't even stop smoking. They don't. It's like it's not because they want to die. It's because they have no will. Their will, and so your will in a sense is in relation to how alive you are. It's like it's who you are. Like that's your will. It's like. And nobody can take it from you. They can only suggest to you that you don't follow through. And if they can suggest to you not to follow through, then something takes that place that does follow through. So again, I think this will probably be the last thing because I'll probably watch this video and then see what I said and what I didn't say, and then maybe I'll finish it up because I'm just talking and the beings who appear to have power are beings who appear to have concentrated the energy around themselves. So, and there's another thing, like, because these beings can't actually, I was talking about this the other day too, these beings can't actually hold the energy within their own vessel because they have no knowledge of self. They can't actually connect into this, universal, mainframe of energy and knowledge and all like this. They can't actually connect themselves because they've cut themselves off. And the reason why they've cut themselves off is because they actively try to cut others off. It's like you can't gain knowledge when your whole existence is trying to keep the knowledge from others. It's like it's backwards. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's like the secret societies. Why are they secret societies? Because they don't want other people to have the knowledge. So where do they get their knowledge from then? You know what I'm saying? It must be passed down from generations to people who at some point were giving the knowledge. And then those beings came and took the knowledge from those people and then said that they had all the knowledge. Maybe they, did away with the people who were getting the knowledge for whatever. And then, or those beings left. And then they maybe found their culture. Maybe they found their pyramids, maybe, and then they went in there and they found all their artifacts or whatever. And they were like, oh man, these beings were smart. Like, hey, we're going to take this knowledge. Don't tell anybody. We're going to have all this knowledge and we're going to rule the world. Ha. Right? So, and then they go and they get the knowledge. And then that's how they rule you. It's like for something to rule over you, they got to know more about you than you know about you. But once you know more about you than they do, it's like you can't lose. It's like you're in the flow. It's like you're streaming the solutions to every problem in real time. Like it's like you don't actually have to go and find something, or you know, you don't have to go ask somebody. You don't got to ask your pastor. You don't got to go read some book. It's like problem. Okay, got it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a dolphin with like sonar. It's like you send out a wave like pew, and then it's like that wave has a certain frequency, so it only interacts with the frequencies that are harmonic with it. So you can send out anything in the universe like poo, and then when that wave goes out, it will interact with and echo back to you the response. It's like this is something that you can actually develop. It's like but you have to believe in yourself. You gotta know who you are. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to discern what's what. Um. So yeah, I think it's like with the dolphin. It's like the dolphins don't sleep. Do you see? Like the dolphins don't sleep. So the reason why they've developed this this superpower is because because they're ultra focused, they're ultra concentrated. Even when they are, resting, they're still completely focused or else they'll drown. So they never actually just completely lose consciousness like a lot of people do when they fall asleep or whatever. So yeah, that's what it is. So it's like I feel like there was so much more I wanted to say about this, and I'm not even really sure what I said or what's going on, but yeah. So hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully, yeah. I feel like I'm missing some. I feel like I'm missing a lot right now, but I don't know. But this video's getting kind of long, so we'll just see what's up, I guess. Okay. All right. Yeah. Fuck. I feel like I want to say something else, but I don't know. Okay.